this year a little differently than our previous coffee chats. Today, I'm going to ask that you set aside time during this session to focus on planning your travel bucket list. So often, we're not intentional about our travel plans. We may hear about a trip our friends are taking and join in, or we listen to a presentation or read a flyer and become interested. Today is all about you and how to ensure you're thinking about where you'd like to go and accomplish those travel goals. For today's session, I'd like you to grab a notebook and a pen, and you can get a head start on creating your bucket list alongside me. I'll be recording today's session so you can watch it later and share it with family and friends. So our goal today is to define your travel plan. We're going to get inspired and discuss where to begin. We're going to weigh the pros and cons of different types of travel and the benefits of how it relates to different destinations. And ultimately, we're going to begin developing a 3-year bucket plan together. So when you're defining your plan, we always need some inspiration. And a great place for you to start is to think about some ideas that you have heard of in the past. So that might be from a family member. It could be a destination you've traveled to in the past for business, but you didn't get to spend a whole lot of time there. So we need to have some inspiration. Then you need to figure out what is the best travel style for that destination. And I mean the means of travel. So we're going to review those different styles of travel today. And then we're going to create our 3-year plan. So in order to begin, we need to get some inspiration. And inspiration can come from a variety of things. Regional highlights. Maybe you are someone who is interested in the UNESCO World Heritage Sites and want to go and visit some of those in some of the different regions around the world. Are you a historical person or enjoy particular culture? We always want to hit the big highlights. And so a lot of the travel companies, they will make sure that you are hitting those big highlights. And we'll talk about that shortly. Maybe you want to attend a special jazz festival or the military tattoo. These special events can always be regional highlights. Travel purpose, the history. Are you a history buff? Are you interested in the heritage? Landscapes. We have so many beautiful landscapes in our own country, and a lot of us haven't gotten to see as many of the national parks as we'd like. So maybe that's something you are interested in. The beautiful fjords of Norway and New Zealand, or maybe more tropical climates, the Southern Pacific, or something like seeing the fall foliage. So it can also blend over into seasons, things that you would like to see, or particular hobbies that you have. I know a lot of our guests in the past are very interested in their ancestry, and many have been inspired when they visit a region to go to certain areas where they know they had ancestors from. Are you a golf or a pickleball enthusiast? More and more, we are seeing different styles of travel that meet those hobbies. Maybe you're like me and you love the hobby of just laying in a lounge chair with your favorite beverage. We can always look at that as well. Asking your friends about their plans is a great source. These are folks that you have commonality with and you trust their opinions. Sometimes talking to your friends about their past travel plans can help you either decide, I definitely want to go there, or if I did that, I would do it this way. Then, once we've got our inspiration, we need to think about prioritizing. And that's often difficult. So here are some of the ideas that we have. Most important item I think we need to consider is the activity level. Consider doing the more rigorous or distance-based travel sooner. We want to make sure while our health and our walkability is up to par, that we are not impacted and we can see different travel destinations the way that we're wanting to. It's important to always remember that Europe does not have to be ADA compliant, so that can be a little bit difficult as you get older. Hotels also overseas are not like American hotels. Sometimes they have bathtubs, so you have that stepping over component you have to contend with, or a more boutique style hotel that doesn't have elevators in it, uneven pavement. So pushing extensive travel further out might just prohibit you from experiencing some of these destinations to the fullest extent that you would like. So think about the activity level of some of these bucket list items. Expense, that's always a big component. When you are trying to maximize your travel each year, it's a good idea for you to try to pair a economical trip with one that requires a little more expense. So coming up with a timeline for saving and spreading those bigger, more expensive trips out and pairing those with more economical ones will allow you to do more, see more in a shorter period of time. I know that's one reason why our winter annual in February is always so popular for people. Number one, it's not of great expense. And unless you're planning to go to Australia, New Zealand, there's not a lot that we typically want to go and visit in February. So the Caribbean is always a great way to get away. Special occasions is another thing to be thinking about. Many people will have their momentous wedding anniversaries and decide they want to take their extended family on a trip. So planning further out, knowing those years that you're wanting to do those things can maximize our ability to help you retain the best pricing as soon as possible. And then best times to be away. Shoulder season is always a big highlight for people that are retired and have a lot of time. They can go when there are fewer tourists and also save some money. But if you are someone that's still working, you might want to consider looking at times during the year when your work schedule is a little bit lighter. If you're planning to travel with extended family, checking the kids' schedules, they are often all over the place, but knowing those windows of opportunity can be very beneficial. And then again, weather. Weather, I might think, oh, I'm going to go to the Caribbean in August or September, but I need to remember that's hurricane season. And when we go to the trouble of planning our trips, we certainly don't want weather to impact them. So prioritizing your list, these are some of the biggies to be thinking about when you're putting them in order. Travel style. There are many different travel styles and there are pros and cons to each of them. And so we're going to go through these because it is not simply a one and done. You can't say, well, I'm just a cruise person and I'm going to only ever go on a cruise. Well, then you're not going to see some of the more enjoyable areas that are inland. So we need to all be open to different modes of travel. We're going to start with land touring. Now, this would be using a company that has a professional guide, a professional manager that is with you throughout the entire journey. These companies have boots on the ground, so it is their job to make sure that they are maximizing all of the special destinations in that area and making sure that you see the most popular. Experts in these destinations know the ins and outs. They can give you special information that you would otherwise not hear if you were there on your own. They have planned out everything, the accommodating hotels. They've made sure all the unique experiences are set, and you have a daily guide so you know what to expect. The pace of these trips can be intense or more relaxed. There are different companies that we can compare for you, the same destination, depending on how you want to travel. You are usually exposed a little more to the local life, local foods, and culture of an area because you are spending more time in that overall destination. The price is always set, so you know upfront exactly what's included with a guided land tour. You know how many meals are included, what transfers are included. Sometimes you tend to have longer days because, again, they want to make sure you're seeing as many highlights as you can in these areas, getting the most bang for your buck. Motor coach travel is usually the preferred method of land touring companies. And we do work with a variety of companies that have different motor coaches, some that offer extra leg room with fewer people, smaller groups, and then the standard full motor coach size with larger groups. This is also a nice option for solo travelers because there is a rate for a solo traveler. You do not have to pay double. So land touring has a really nice option when you're considering travel. These are some of just a few companies that we work with. Insight Vacations, a little more of a business class experience in terms of land touring. This is the company I spoke about that has a full-size motor coach. They remove several rows that allow you to have extra leg room. You have floor-to-ceiling windows. Their hotels are a little more of a upper moderate hotel. Colette Tours, another great one. They have small and large group tours. So if you're someone that doesn't want to be with a larger group, we have options looking at Colette. Trafalgar, that's under the Insight umbrella. I would say Colette and Trafalgar, Globus, all three of those are more moderate touring companies. They stay city center hotels. They have many of your meals that are included. And then Talc, I would consider that probably a premium touring company. These are all the tried and true ones that we have had guests travel on in the past and returned with excellent feedback. The next style of travel is custom travel. And I know when you first hear about that, that sounds really appealing to people. See exactly what I want for as long as I want to go. But let's dig in a little deeper to see if this really fits you. Specific interests or towns that are off the beaten path, no problem. We can make sure that you are visiting those. It is not motor coach intensive, so you can travel by train. You can have a rental car, you could have a driver. We can also set up with custom travel for you to have day tours where they pick you up and drop you off at your hotel. Or you can also use local transit if you're someone who likes to take the metro and you want the map. We can get you a pass and you can do all of that on your own. One thing you need to know about with custom travel, and this is even more now than before, is there are many more unknowns involved. So while there's a lot of flexibility, costs can adjust. The hotels are still recouping from COVID and being closed for so long. So in some cases, we can give you an initial quote on a hotel and 2 weeks later, you are at it again. Increased in price. Food is not included usually in your custom travel unless we have a tour that's planned for you that has a meal. And so there are lots of things that you have to manage on your own that if you had a travel professional manager that you were touring with, they would assist with that. All-inclusive resorts falls under this umbrella of custom travel. It is one destination, unpacking one time. You can do as much or as little as you want to, and this is quite appealing to a lot of folks. And we can make all of the arrangements as packaged with air, transfers, all of that. Moving on to the next one, ocean cruises. For destinations that are near the coast, this is great. I do like to consider cruising in terms of destination as kissing the destinations. You are not going to be fully immersed in that destination for very long. You will be able to select an excursion either through the ocean cruise line or something that you plan on your own that will allow you to see the big highlights of the area. It is great that you can get on board, you unpack once. It is mostly inclusive, your meals, your entertainment, those are all included. A lot fewer unknowns, especially if we are able to package your air, your transfers, where you're met at the airport. A little more of a seamless process, but it's really a taste of a destination. So in some cases, it's a nice thing to begin with, and then maybe you so much enjoyed one of these port cities that you decide you want to go back and have extended time in that area, maybe either with a custom tour or a professional land company. And the pace is yours. So with ocean cruising, you can do as much in port as you'd like. You may be someone who just wants to get off that day and walk around nearby, or you maybe want to go on one of their pre-booked shore excursions where you have a guide and all of that information is shared with you. River cruising. This can be an interest all of its own. I've had many just want to take a river cruise, not as intrigued by where it goes, but more that want to experience this style of travel. Typically, though, once they go, they are hooked, and then they begin looking at itineraries that will interest them. The most popular rivers chosen by first-timers are usually the Danube or the Rhine. They are unique because they are city center. They are on the main thoroughfares that are going through these European cities. So in many aspects, it's treated like your floating hotel. You have a front desk, so if you want them to arrange for you to be able to take a taxi to a local area, they can do that for you. You unpack one time only, but you are in a different area every day. It is quite inclusive, and you know upfront exactly what's included. It's a good hybrid between land touring and cruising. Most river cruise companies include an excursion in every port. They also have some optional excursions, but the included excursion functions like you would with a land tour. You're going to get onto a motor coach with your guide that day. They're going to take you out to see all of the highlights and then return you to your floating hotel for wonderful dining. You are longer in each destination because you're sailing by river, not as far of a distance to go from one to the next. So, like I said, in a lot of cases, you're even in port through the evening. So if you want to walk out and go to a local pub and take in more of that culture, you can. You're also able to enjoy local spirits and bring them on board. It's more immersive in the culture because you are in the center of the region. Now, comparing river cruise lines and ocean cruise lines can be quite difficult. And sometimes folks come to us, they've never cruised, and they say, okay, well, tell me which one is best. Well, that really is a preference. So these are some of the suggestions we have for how to pick one that really works best for you. And number one, ports of call and itinerary would be what most guests tell us drive where they are going to travel and what company they're going to go with. There are a lot of companies out there that have unique itineraries and destinations that people really want to visit. Then another thing to think about is what you want included. How inclusive of an experience do you want? Of course, the more inclusions, the higher the price in many cases. Are you someone that wants a beverage package included? Do you want included excursions? Are you into big Broadway style entertainment, or are you more interested in cultural entertainment and the dining options? Are you someone that's happy with the main dining room being one option for you to dine in, or would you like multiple venues? cabin size, especially for a longer trip. Always think about, is there going to be enough room in there for me to stay for a 21-day trip? A lot of things to pack. And the amenities on board. Between different cruise lines, there are different draws. And so a travel professional can always share that with you. Now, promotions and price is always a driver. And I will tell you right now, across the board, all of the companies are wanting to fill up their trips. And so for the next few months, you're going to see some exceptional promotions that are out there and great inclusions. And as we get closer to the end of spring, those are going to start going away. So I would encourage you, once you've got your bucket list ready, to start planning further out so that we can capture the best promotions. It's a misnomer that waiting till the last minute will get you the best price. Back in the day, that was the case. But anymore, the further out, the best pricing and the most inclusions. And then ship capacity. Are you someone that loves the very large ship with all of the special amenities on board? Or do you prefer to travel with fewer people? That is another thing to be considering, ship size. Okay, so now it's time for you to grab your notepad and for us to start building your bucket list. And so we're going to do this together. I have started mine. So you can see here that I have listed Canada, New England is definitely on my list. And I want to see the fall foliage in some of those beautiful areas. So I have listed that as one of my top items. I'd also like to go to Ireland and Scotland. And so I've listed that one as well. Southern France is also on my list. I just have to figure out how I'm going to go there. Once before, been to Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. I definitely want to go back, so I'm going to add that one on my list. And the Western Mediterranean. That is another focus for me. So I'm going to add that on my list as well. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to go ahead and just jot down some destinations that are of interest to you. This is just your rough copy, so okay, I'm going to move forward to the next screen just so that you can see where we're going next. So once I have my 5 destinations, now I need to prioritize by the month or the season that I would like to travel. Well, for Canada, New England, wanting to see the fall foliage, it definitely has to be the fall. So I've listed that. Now with Ireland, Scotland, they have quite a large window of travel opportunity. I selected August because I would really like to go to the military tattoo special event, and it is held annually in August. So I'm limited on my options there. Southern France, I would love to see the lavender in full bloom. Now that is in the middle of the summer, but I'd also would be open to going in spring or fall when there's fewer tourists. So I listed all 3. With Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, I definitely want to go in spring or late fall. Now, typically those areas are not disturbed by hurricanes, but I do think spring or late fall for that would work well. And for the Mediterranean, for myself, I want to take my family, so I have to contend with a college student and a high school student's schedules. So I'm hoping for a late May, early June option so that my family can all visit together. So again, once you've listed your 5 places and you've come up with a suggested month or season you want to travel, now it's time to plug it in. So typically, 3 years of planning works very well. And it doesn't mean that we can plan today for the furthest trip out. It's possible that's something that might need to be delayed until it's more available. But most of the travel providers, cruise lines, and the land touring companies are giving us options much further out. They know that people have pent up travel plans and they want to be able to plan in advance to accomplish their bucket lists. So we are seeing more of that. Just as an example, I had a couple met with me a few years ago and told me of their 50th wedding anniversary. We knew where they were wanting to go. I had it on my list. So as soon as that itinerary came out, we held the space, and within 6 months, that price had gone up $500 a person. So planning further out does give you the best deal. Now, I did look at the years for my trips, and when I went through, I decided for southern France, I definitely don't want to go in the middle of summer. It's a little price prohibitive for me. So I thought, let's go with spring or fall. And I staggered it so that I could maximize doing some of these things together. I know it seems kind of simple, but we just simply don't take the time to plan out our travel. And so I think it's important for us to be intentional so that we can maximize exactly where we want to go. Then the last the last thing I need to do is to figure out how I want to travel. What's the travel style for these destinations? And I may not know right away. And that is where Brandt Travel comes into play. For example, Canada, New England. I know that I do not want to do a custom trip. I would prefer to have vetted guides for the different areas so they can share the history with me. I don't want to have to read books and figure it out on my own. I also want to have my transportation taken care of. And so I am thinking I'm leaning towards either a guided land tour or an ocean cruise. And so in this example, I would reach out to my team and say, I'm interested in going to Canada, New England. I'm not sure if I want to take a land tour or an ocean cruise. What are some options for me? So we would share with you some itineraries to review with pricing, with dates, and your job would be to look through and decide, okay, what style of travel do I want this time? Do I want it to be a little more leisure? Do I want to maximize everything I'm seeing in that destination? Do I want to unpack once? Or am I okay staying in a hotel for a few nights and then moving on to the next space? And then once we go through those pros and cons, you will have selected the best travel style for that destination. Here's just a couple little bonus tips. I would encourage you to chat with your friends and family because travel is really better together. When you have another couple to travel with or family members that you all can enjoy making memories of travel, it really is great. And just a little funny at the bottom, travel first class. And first class can be whatever is of top rating to you because if you don't, your heirs will. And I'd like to just thank you again for joining us today. This is our information. We don't charge anything for our travel planning services. So it is our pleasure to work through these destinations on your bucket list with you to make sure that you are selecting the best travel style and the best itinerary to match your focus. And we'll be glad to do that once you have created your bucket list. So I would encourage you to go back through the little notes that you jotted down today, have a conversation with your spouse or your travel companion, come up with those different destinations, see if you can figure out months or preferred seasons of traveling, plug them in over a 3-year period, and then start weighing the pros and cons of travel style for each. Contact us. We have so many promotions going on. There is a lot of there's a lot of travel companies that are really interested in boosting travel for 24. So they're offering a lot of incentives if you're wanting to go this year. And then further out, really great pricing. So we would be really glad to help you with your travel bucket list. And I hope this gets you started on a great year of 2024 travel. And cheers or happy coffee drinking to all of you. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.